Well, as he said Monday night, hell froze over, and CM Punk returned to the WWE Saturday night. Let's just start our conversation with this. Johnny, I'll let you go because I know you've been waiting for a bit to dive into this one. You can start it and just jump in as we go here, guys. Your initial reaction to the return. Are you surprised it happened, and where do you think it's going? Let's just dive right in.
I mean, surprised? Yes and no. I mean, I was shocked it happened when it happened, I guess. I was not expecting it at that point. Once the copyright popped up in the pay-per-view, I was pretty much, oh, well, okay. That's about what I expected. And then the music hit and he came out and I was like, well, I didn't expect this. So, I wasn't expecting it then. I certainly thought it was in the cards, possibility, especially now with the TKO merger and everything. But my opinion's still the same as it was a month ago, 2 months ago. This is stupid. I don't care. There's 3 matches in the company for him that I actually am interested in seeing. And once he's done with those 3, I don't care anymore. There's nothing there that interests me.
Oh, come on. There's got to be more that interests you than just 3 matches.
There's 3 matches. I want to see him with Shinsuke. I want to see him with Seth. And I want to see him with AJ. That's it.
That's a fantastic opinion for a show.
I'm not interested in it. I am.
So we have started off with like a optimistic person.
I am so not interested in seeing same. I'm not interested in seeing him and Randy again. I'm not interested in seeing him and Cena again. Yes, there'll be good matches. I'm not denying the quality is going to be there, but they're not matches that excite me. They don't interest me. And of the members of the Shield, the 2 that are left are probably there's one of them I actually want to see him work. Because I don't.
You're not sold on Punk versus Grayson Waller?
Here's my problem. I don't even know who that is. Like
the problem is the matches that I'd be interested in seeing Punk have in WWE are matches he's never going to have. Because they're not going to put him with guys in the mid-card or lower. They're not going to let him go out there with Ricochet. They're not going to let him go out there with Chad Gable. Those are matches I'd love to see, but they're matches that we'll never, ever, ever see.
You might see him as a warm-up.
I can see Gable. I don't know about Ricochet.
I could see Gable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do, it would be like some 6-minute TV squash match that does nothing for anybody. It'd be a TV match, and they don't give TV matches time.
You know what I'm not sure. Love to see?
They got 3 hours and 27
I'd love to see him
minutes
fight
per week of wrestling.
Oh, that would be fun. Watch Punk get
because he'd get chopped.
Okay, yes, that's
and then he'd be like, "I quit."
If he still had his live journal, he'd be all over it.
That's 4 matches that I care about that he could have. Gunther on that list. You're right. I forgot about him.
You don't see anybody on down in NXT that he can match up well with?
Not that's gonna get over. Like, not that I want to see him with. I mean, maybe Carmelo Hayes if he gets up and gets a push, but he's just as likely to get the Cameron Grimes and be called up and never be seen again. Like him and Braun Breaker doesn't do it for me.
No,
he's the only guy in NXT that I think is going to break the glass ceiling.
You don't want to see him face the family? What about Chase U?
I mean, sure, that'd be a great match. Him and which one
NXT
of the
is trash.
Which one of the brothers is Chase? Chase is one of Grandma's boys, right?
I totally don't share that opinion that Jeremy has. We talk about it all the time. I like the NXT.
Like
a lot of guys I like down there.
Yeah, I'm going to eat on my pasta and watch the wrestling. Fuck off.
Honestly, I think the biggest problem I have is like almost everybody that you mentioned outside of Ricochet, I have no fucking clue who they are. I have not watched in a decade. So it's like it's hard because like even though Punk's not in AEW anymore, and I am a Punk guy, it's like I think I'd rather watch the other roster, if I'm being honest.
Dude, that was the first full episode of Raw that I've watched in probably over a year, straight up from beginning to end. Because again, what was I going to watch? Minnesota versus Chicago. That was a barn burner of a game.
I'd rather watch that than Monday Night Raw.
Shit, I wouldn't.
That Raw was the shit.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. I figured they'd really build it up a little bit better, given you're getting Punk and Orton's return. And I mean, I liked the opening segment with Orton. I think his promo was good, and I think his interaction with Rhea Ripley was great. But when it came to Punk, here's the thing: Punk is good for wrestling when it's good Punk. When it's bad Punk, when it's ego-driven Punk, we have issues. The promo was kind of lackluster, but maybe that was on purpose. Maybe. Or maybe it's just the fact he really is there to just cash a paycheck, and that's really it.
It's also a time push, too. It was really a time push.
But even with
I don't know.
he
He could have
said more than he did.
There was like that was like a basic, like that was like a generic promo you like hand off to your guys at the performance center, be like, hey, read this and see if you can make it good. And he's like, oh yes, I'm home. I love all of you people here. I will be fighting wrestlers, and I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, it was very, very lame. I'm actually very excited to see CM Punk in WWE because I was excited to see him in AEW, and then I hated almost, other than the dog collar match, I hated his entire AEW run. Like, I didn't like almost any of the matches. His match with Samoa Joe was okay, but I know a lot of people liked it. I didn't really like it that much. I don't like that he was like, oh, I'm just going to use Macho Man and Hulk Hogan's finishers and matches now, and I'm just going to do a bunch of Bret Hart stuff. And like, I don't know, I hated his entire AEW run. However, we're back to him like rejoining, coming back, whatever. I have kind of the same feeling I did when he came back to AEW, which is like, oh yeah, I hope this is really good, because I used to be a really big CM Punk fan. So I like, just like Punk has kind of erased AEW from his mind coming into this promo, so have I been like, I'll just pretend that AEW never happened for him. Like, we'll scratch that off the cards, and yeah, he's home now. But I really hated the promo because in AEW, he buried WWE. He buried them all the time. Like, he once like replied to a tweet from The Miz saying that they were like, going to Saudi Arabia and get their blood money and blah, blah, blah. And like, he said a bunch of shit about AEW, and then he came back and was like, I'm home. Like, that's like, it makes no sense. And CM Punk's fans are all hardcore fans. They're not, I don't think they're casual people, so they all know this. So I don't know, but I'm excited for it. I hope that they are able to protect him and have good matches, because I don't think he has a lot left in the tank body-wise, but he can still really tell stories because he's really good at that.
Because that's something WWE is so well known for in the 2020s.
Well, one major
I mean, stories in the ring. His story out of the ring, he'll figure, like, as long as it's not that terrible promo that just happened, if he, like, I mean, he's probably going to fight Seth, and that's probably going to be good because they do seem to hate each other. So if they both want to make money and they can get that feud over, I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure the matches will be good because Seth could fight a pillowcase and it would be great. So, I'm pretty optimistic about it, which is, the first time I've been optimistic about CM Punk in 1.5 to 2 years.
Well, that was the one big difference between the two promos is Punk did his big Raw Return AEW promo, and then the last 3 minutes of it was a promo on Darby Allin. So by the end of that segment, Punk had a direction. You knew Punk was going to face Darby Allin, and that's where he was going. This time, it's like, oh, if you don't like me backstage, tough shit. Okay. Punk still has no direction, and it's Wednesday night. So, it just feels like it didn't serve a purpose other than, I'm home. Well, that doesn't sell tickets. That doesn't do anything.
He didn't even get the I'm here to work with the Seth Rollinses and the Shinsuke. He didn't even get that.
I heard David LaGreca. He, excuse me. He'd mentioned he thought the promo was designed to, and again, I had to go back and watch it myself. And I'm with all you. Like, I got to the end of it, I was kind of like, wow, okay. That was okay, and probably only okay because he has good delivery on what he does. But there was nothing of substance there, in my opinion, which is kind of a problem. Although, and the other side of this problem is you just blew social media away with the biggest wrestling anything ever, period. And you followed that up with giving a guy 8 minutes in a 3-hour show.
8 minutes to do nothing.
Yeah, I like it. And the entrance, I think I timed it by the time he actually talks is like 2 minutes in. So like he had basically 5 and change. That doesn't seem very smart. I don't know if any of that had to do Triple H wasn't there or what, but David LaGreca said he thought if you go back and listen to the promo, he says everybody in the back was happy to see him. He doesn't say he was happy to see everybody else. And then at the very end, he says, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And he was, again, I don't know how anybody's positioned in WWE, so forgive me, but he was making the case that they are short on top heels right now. So does Punk go heel quickly rather than down the road? I don't know. To me, that seems like he's fishing. But I, too, was disappointed in the promo. I also, though, think half the audience set themselves up for failure by thinking that Punk was going to go out there and slam AEW and slam Tony Khan and slam the Young Bucks. That was never, ever, ever going to happen on WWE TV. And this is coming from a guy that hasn't watched it a fucking decade. And at the end of the day, I'd still say mission accomplished. The ratings were way up.
Yeah, but they weren't. It's a
misnomer.
They were up, but they weren't up for the quarter hour. They'd lost 300,000 fans in the final quarter hour,
which is less than what they normally do. See, this is one point I want to make. And I'm not saying Johnny's doing this, but to me, this is a problem here. Johnny, I think we would all agree, he just said it. He has no interest in what CM Punk does in WWE. I think people get so fixated on something. I'm not referring to Johnny specifically, but just people in general. I said it to Randy in a chat today, that when people don't want something or people don't like something, and I've been guilty of this in the past, the guy over to the left of me here has been guilty of it with a certain Star Wars actor too. But like, I think it's easy to shit on something if you don't want to see it in a positive light. And at the end of the day, I don't think the numbers lie. The rating is up 29%, and the rating is up, 34 or 35% in the key demographic. Not to mention 95% of people that watch Raw do not look at a SRS report of what the show layout's going to be. They don't. And so you're coming off Punk debuting. Most people think Punk is going to open the show. You look at social media yesterday, until Fightful put out what the order was, everybody thought Punk was opening the show. I would say it would be really hard for me to sit through 3 hours too.
But that's the thing, though. You don't have to sit through the whole show. Like, even if you just break it down into the quarter hours, you assume he's either in the opening or he's in the main event. Those are the only two spots, right? If you eliminate the other 2.5 hours of this show, you still have 1/2 hour where you're either in the first 15 or you're in the last 15. If you come for the first 15 minutes, okay, it's not Punk. You come for the last 15 if that's what you're there for. They were still 100,000 people short of the average for the final quarter hour.
Those poor people had to sit there live through the other 2.5 hours.
let's not forget, so AEW's rating is like almost always 850, like 850,000 is almost always that. And when Punk was there, it was about 100,000 people plus. So it would go between line 50 and a million, right? Not all the time. He didn't always command that many fans, but that's the impact that someone could say he made, even if you believe, you can't say he brought in an extra million fans because he didn't. Like that's measurable. But anyway, so if you're operating on the idea that he can bring in maybe 100,000 people, 100,000 added on to the 850 is like, whoa, that's fucking 10%. Raw fluctuates fucking more than Dynamite makes. So I don't think we're going to be able to measure how many people came in to see CM Punk because their show fluctuates from a 1 to a 2.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be able to really measure that other than the fact that social media was crazy.
That's the thing I'll say there's the social media aspect of this. The debut, it's Wednesday. It's 3 days. It's got 3.4 million views. That's the Sunday debut. It's Wednesday. The Raw promo, 64,000.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when people are, going on X or Instagram or anything like that, 9 times out of 10, if you're looking for that sort of stuff, you're also following maybe Fightful or Wrestling Observer or something, and you're going to see everybody's opinions on it. Where a lot of it's mixed. It's half and half. You have half of people thinking it wasn't a bad promo and they want to see what's going to happen. Yeah, a bunch of people saying it stunk and that it was just what was this? Why was it so generic? But the main consensus is it's just a wait and see at this point. Everybody reiterated that it was only 5 to 8 minutes, and that. Yeah, and I really do think because of all that on social media that a lot of people just didn't bother viewing it because they're like, well, if it's boring or if it's generic, that's not Punk. That's not what I'm used to. Why would I go searching for it?
Well,
that could be part of it.
The number was not accurate. The number is 2.3 million.
They posted it twice.
So
in the second one.
But that's my point, though. And again, I don't believe for a second Johnny's doing this on purpose. But we've all dealt with people in fandom, and I don't know how the wrestling world is. You guys would know that more than me. But people are so quick to, if they think something is negative, they got to find whatever evidence they can to point it out to be a negative. We were talking to Johnny last night, and someone had posted a rating that you'd seen that definitely does not line up with the rating that came out today. And it's just like, I just think people need to be more sensitive in terms of where they get their information from, because it's really easy to paint something in a negative light. That being said, whatever the ratings ended up being on TV, think about the social media exposure they've already gotten from this guy, whether it's Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. These are all things they make tons of money off of. I know we've made a little bit of money here, and that pales in comparison. They've in one day probably made 100 times what we've, or 1,000 times what we've ever made on the channel. So like that stuff does matter. Social media engagement does matter in today's world anyway. Not that it means his run's going to be any more successful.
It's going to be it's going to be a win. It's going to be a win for sure because one, they're going to sell that black version of the CM Punk shirt 700 million goddamn times. Like they're going to make a ton of money off of that. He's probably going to get injured, and he's probably going to beat the shit out of fucking some referee or something like that. It's probably going to happen, but he's probably going to make it to WrestleMania, and that's really, I think, all they need. I think Hunter would be smart to just be like, you know what? Like, I'm sure he can hang on to this for 5 months and then fight Seth Rollins at Mania. And we're going to sell that shirt like crazy. We're going to have the rights to CM Punk stuff. Like, we're going to, it's going to be fine. And either it turns out better and he's around for 2 years and he's great and he has a good championship run, or he makes it to Mania. He wins or loses against Seth Rollins and then he fucking beats the shit out of fucking, Cameron Grimes, right? And they're going to make money off of this. It's going to be good. It's a win-win situation for Hunter, I think, unless he beats someone within the next 2 months, then, I think he'll be fine. And apparently there's some sort of behavior clause in his contract, I heard today, which is not confirmed, but I think there's likely that's a thing. With his history, I'm sure they were able to put that in there. Like, we get to get all our money back if you're a fucking asshole. So honestly, I think it's a win for WWE. I think it's a win for fans because in WWE right now as well, there's so many things I don't want to see in WWE. I watch it still right now, but it's not like Punk is pushing out a bunch of great stuff right now. So invite him in, see what he can do, make money. If he sucks, then he'll be gone. I mean, if it's not going well for WWE, it probably won't be going well for him, and then he'll turn into a fucking lunatic again. So I think it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
The real barometer, okay, the rating was good, but
your name is Matt.
Has been pointed out. Like Matt said, they were against a shitty Monday Night Football game. That has to be taken into account. It's the highest rating since August. It's also the last time they weren't up against Monday Night Football. And they were up against a Thursday Night Football game on a Monday.
Highest in the demo since the Raw After Mania, too. Highest in Canada since the Raw After Mania in 2022. Not the Canadian ratings really all that matters all that much. Matt, what do you want to get in, dude?
You have professional company running WWE. You have a child.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
No. Hear me out.
Hang on. Let me preface this by saying this. We're all friends here. It's all good, but by all means, have at it.
His father did the same shit with the Jags. He had to put his hands all there. He had to have his. What happened once he pulled off his hands and let everybody else start doing things? Look what's going on now.
Yeah, the person running AEW is the person running the Jags, and the Jags are a good organization, but AEW isn't. How does that make sense?
No, what I'm saying is
Tony is the president of the Jags.
But you know what? They don't have their hands all in it like they used to. His father always wanted to pull a GM, always wanted to change a coach. He was doing that. And who did he learn it from? His daddy. I don't think he truly knows how to run AEW.
Have you looked at
hold on.
Have you looked at the European soccer
carried
team?
by the wrestlers. AEW is being carried by the wrestler. He's head of creative. Really? He's not. And the one more thing, I'm not going to stand on here long. Him saying he's feared for his fucking life when he came out with that shit with CM Punk. Give me a freaking break. I mean, I like what AEW is as far as the wrestlers and the stories they put out. But if you want to give Tony Khan all this fucking credit, fuck no. I won't.
Matt, you gotta get that one right though. So that one at the end. So put up your hands, everyone here, if you've been in any sort of fight. You've been in any sort of fight? Yeah, like anything, any sort of fight at all. Okay. Have you ever seen a person who's never been in any sort of fight get in a physical confrontation? That's what happens. Like,
I mean, we've all seen.
If you've ever seen someone get out of their car and rush after someone that you know who's never heard a fly, they're afraid for their life. I'm not going to go on and explain these things, but like we all have friends who are not at all physical and whatever. And
okay,
like it.
If CM Punk, someone who has had a professional fight in his life, it would be terrifying. I know. Like, I know a lot of guys who have been in fights because I'm around the crowd of martial arts and boxing and stuff like that. But I also know people who have never, like, bothered anyone. And they, like, I had a friend who literally just fucking fell over like this when a guy charged at him one time. Like the guy was running at him, and his move was to go. He just fucking fell down like a board. He was so scared.
Play dead works against a bear, it'll work against a human, right?
Like
Notice how
hyper-
Punk's
well, I don't know. Like I get the idea that people are like everyone, all the keyboard people are like, oh, he feared for his life. Yeah, he feared for his life. A known, at least semi-tough guy came at a guy who probably has never had to deal with anything hard in his entire life. So yeah, I believe that story.
Even if you take it on hyperbole, and then be like, okay, your life was not in danger, calm down. But him being fucking terrified is justified. Punk's what, 1.5 feet taller and 100+ pounds heavier, with a background as a legitimate martial artist, like that. If the Big Show comes up to me, if Paul White comes up to me and is pissed off, I'm going to be terrified. Regardless.
Why? Just kick him in the knee.
Or hit him, punch him in the nuts.
Or what's left of it. Yeah, I don't know.
His knees or his nuts.
Tony Khan probably has never cleaned his own room before. Like, he was born a billionaire. He's probably done nothing scary in his point. He's probably done nothing scary in his life.
It goes to the point, like I was saying. The Jags haven't started flourishing till Daddy took his hands off.
And who put his hands on? Tony. I don't know the point you're making.
No.
Tony is the president of football operations for the Jacksonville Jaguars and has been since 2019, 2020.
Yeah, but he's not making coach.
Who do you think is then?
Shit. He's not doing shit. Balky is.
Who hired Balky?
Daddy.
This has immediately made this whole show worth it. This is exactly what I was hoping would happen.
You just wanted total chaos. That's what you
basically
wanted.
Right. Yeah, it's entertaining.
Your logic is, I'm going to point to his inaccuracy in one field, but point to his accuracy in another field and say that the same person isn't the same person on both sides. Like
what I'm saying is,
his
dad.
Your reasoning here is, hold on. Your reasoning here is he made the right decision. Let's Balky make the decisions in football. Great. Tony didn't make the decision to fire Punk. Brian Danielson and 2 independent lawyers made the decision to fire him, not Tony Khan.
No, that's not true. They gave the recommendation for termination. Tony Khan.
Right. Tony Khan was going to do whatever that board told him to do.
I believe
he's not that stupid.
That's fair.
He's like it. Whatever the board's recommendation was, is what he was going to do, because that at the end of the day is the right decision. If you have an independent arbitration board that makes a decision, the right call is to stand behind that decision because you chose them to make that decision. Whatever Roger Goodell does is irrelevant in this conversation.
His idea is the exact opposite. The police thread, and that makes him cooler than anyone here. So.
I mean, Fightful said today on their 3 p.m. show that not only was Punk already aware that Brian Danielson was in with that committee, Punk expected to be fired. He expected to be fired, and there's no ill will against Brian Danielson. Like at this point, and I think John, I can't remember if you, Randy, and I talked about this last night.
Yes, we were talking about it last night when he showed up at Raw. Yeah.
He showed up. It's one thing to show up at Impact or New Japan or whatever the place
the other
was
places he was spotted at.
But he showed up at a WWE building and went to talk to Triple H.
Not even a house show.
Like, come on. And then a few months later, he's gone and given. Like, say what you want about Punk, he's an intelligent dude. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and for right or wrong, I think a lot of it wrong. It's just hard to sit here and go, the dude didn't want out. I think he wanted out, and I think he got out. And
he wanted out for a year before he got out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like, for me, I'd rather watch CM Punk in AEW, but
that's what happens when you let the inmates from the asylum.
Because that's what Punk was doing.
Punk hasn't even seen Rocky.
No,
Punk was the inmate running the asylum for the month of August 2 years ago. Punk's AEW stay ended at, was it All In 2020? All Out 2020?
No,
When
that'd be
Bryan
Or-
Danielson
or-
walked through the curtain.
Are you talking about when Danielson and Cole both walked through the curtain?
When Bryan
That
Danielson
was
walked through the curtain,
2021.
that okay.
Was it?
Punk's, yeah,
Holy shit!
it makes sense. 2 years ago,
Yeah.
that was when Punk's run ended. When Bryan Danielson walked through that curtain, because Bryan Danielson had A, the respect of Tony Khan, and B, the respect of the entire locker room. Not a small segment of it, but every single person in that locker room respected Bryan. Punk never had that. He had the respect of some, but not the respect of all.
I'll disagree. I mean, I agree. I'm sorry. I agree with you on that.
Punk was looking for a way out after that. He saw the writing on the wall. He expected this haven of wrestling for him. He is, to me, CM Punk is Grandpa Simpson in the conversation with Homer. You're it. I used to be hip, and one day what was hip changed, and I'm not hip. And one day it'll happen to you. Well, Jim Cornette said it to Punk. Now it's happened to Punk. And eventually it'll happen to the Bucks. And eventually it'll happen to... It happens to everybody. The wrestling world passes you by. And that's it.
Just spokes on a wheel.
It happened to Crush.
I think Crush...
Wow, that's going
I think
back.
Prison happened to Crush, though. That was his problem.
I
Thank
think-
Got out and beat up Steve Carino.
I think it's kind of happened to the Bucks. It's funny you mentioned that. I feel like they're going to need to do something incredibly different to ever be relevant again. I think.
Well, I guess
They're
that's
turning
why
heel
with
and killed that YouTube
Yeah.
show. Now they're interesting again.
well, they filed a few trademarks for like killing the business and things like that. So
I mean,
we'll
that was the name
see.
of their book, though.
But I mean, that's what they're. I think it's what one of the trademarks they just filed for like their stable or stuff to deal with their merchandise or something. So it's going to be. I mean, they're going to be healed. They're going to form a stable. I know. Apparently, I don't know why you're bringing Brandon Cutler into it, but whatever.
Cutler and
He's
Cabana
funny.
do not sound interesting at all.
But I know they're going to. But my guess is they're going to have other people involved too. They can't just be those three. But
Cutler
There's
is the
guys
young
sitting
buck
around that
who
need to
Bruce
do
Beefcake
something,
is to Hulk
so.
Hogan.
Yeah, I hear 7-Eleven's hiring. But no,
All right, gentlemen, I'm rolling off of here.
take it easy, Matt. Thanks for coming out, dude.
All right, y'all have a good night.
you too.
Matt came here just to do that.
It's a hangout show. I just, we could go over the AEW brawl out shit for hours and hours and hours. At the end of the day, I just think it was
It's going to
horrible.
make a really great Dark Side of the Ring in 10 years.
For sure. I mean, just you could not handle a situation worse on all sides, in my opinion. That's bad. It's one thing when there's a couple of sides that handle it bad, but when it's every single person that was involved in that incident fucked up, it's
Now, how did Kenny Omega fuck up?
he shouldn't have put his hands on Larry.
I actually was not. I was
No, I
not.
don't know.
Actually, I feel like Omega's the only one who, after everything came out pretty good. I think I don't think it really affected him too much.
He's the only one of everyone in the group who said, "Yeah, I probably fucked up and shouldn't have done what I did."
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
He's the only.
I don't
one
know.
who's
I don't think
equally
Kenny-
his pro. That's the Canadian in him. He's allowed to be like,
I
yeah.
don't think Kenny.
my bad.
I think even when Kenny's a heel, he doesn't really come across very well as a heel because he's probably a really nice guy in real life. He's probably not super extroverted. He's probably an introverted guy. He's probably really nice. So
He's
I
a
don't know.
great- He's a great heel in Japan, where being a heel is as easy as saying, "I'm not from here."
This is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he likes anime and video games. How much more introverted can you get?
Now, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I'm just saying they're not
I was about to
exactly.
say, I like video games and
extroverted
anime.
hobbies.
Jer, we haven't heard too much from you tonight. Were you expecting him at Survivor Series? I know you sent me the
I
clip.
was happy with it.
You were the second.
Kieran is how I found out. I
Oh,
wasn't
really?
even watching the show. I
Well,
was playing video games
you
and
were
I
the
checked my
second
phone
person
and
to
Kieran's like, "Guess Punk didn't
Jeez,
show up."
man.
Oh wait,
Doesn't even read his own group chats.
no, not for WWE stuff. I checked out on WWE a long time ago.
You were
Yeah,
in
and then
the Discord during the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I probably said some shit. Didn't mean I was watching it.
Well, no, but I said it in there because Kyle made a point of saying, like, you at me when it happens. And I added him when it happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I figured the reporting was pretty truthful.
You were a Forbes guy.
Nothing really came together until the last minute. And, you know, if it was going to happen, it was going to be last minute. Otherwise, it would have leaked before then. And so he showed up, and Triple H did his typical, you know, after the copyright thing where he's, you know, I think people should have figured that out beforehand, because this is like the third or fourth time he's done that. Like, he's done like major heel turns after a copyright on the program.
Usually you have an idea of them coming. Like, you can feel it in the air, sort of thing.
Well, I wasn't there.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like if you go, like the first time he did, I think Tommaso and Johnny, right? That was the first time he did it.
Yeah.
I think that was also in Chicago, wasn't it?
Chicago 2, I think.
Yeah, it was in Chicago. So I mean, that was the first time he did.
When they were at the top of the ramp there, right?
Yeah, when he just went ham and beat the crap out of him and chucked him into the Titan and everything. But like, you had a feeling in the air, like, oh, something's happening. Something's going down. You know, you could feel it. This time, the only thing you felt was, okay, show's over.
Yeah, but they wouldn't end it on a wide shot like that.
Well, no, but they didn't put the graphic up in the wide shot. They put the graphic up on the close-up with the four guys with the arms up in the air. In the traditional, you know, in the traditional Hogan must pose style was when the copyright went up. And then as the copyright was there, then they pulled back. And then you kind of get the, what are we doing? Like, are we just doing the weird pull back and show the crowd hype with them in the cage and all that so you can get like that graphic? And then they pull back further and you see the Titantron, and it's like, oh, okay, something's happening. Like when you can see the overhead scoreboard, then it's like, okay, now something's about to happen.
I don't get this one. Someone help me.
I mean, that's valid.
That's a valid point. Also, Johnny Gargano takes a ladder to the face in that match in one of the most disgusting spots I've ever seen.
It's
like
not that
straight
disgusting.
to the face, no hands, nothing.
It's
crazy.
Disgusting ladder to the face is Joey Mercury.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah,
that was. I remember that one. Ugh.
Yep.
We're watching that one live. I regret ordering that paper.
We're not getting a worse ladder to the face than that, probably ever.
That was awful.
That's true. Yeah.
I've never seen a nose explode before. Now I have.
Yeah.
So before we move on from Punk,
how about Bailey? Huh? Damn.
What happened with her?
Okay, continue.
Oh, okay.
That's just a general statement on Bailey being a smoke show.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Which valid.
Listen, I watched the first like 45 minutes of Raw, and then I had a show commitment to do on here, which we strategically placed at 9. To Johnny's point earlier, I figured if Punk wasn't opening, he'd be closing. So I placed it at 9, and we went till 10. And then I think I watched from like 10:15 on. So I guess I watched like 2/3 of a Raw. That's about as good as it's going to get for me, though, bud, more than likely. So
braver than most.
The only people watching 3 hours of Raw are bored people and people in the building.
Book Punk at Mania.
Seth Rollins.
I can do that easy.
It should and probably will be Seth Rollins, in my opinion.
Like what you would do, not necessarily what you think's going to happen.
Team him up with R-Truth, and R-Truth acts like Punk never left.
Damn. And you know he would, and he would pull it off.
R-Truth just walks up. Hey, you got eliminated from the Rumble. How you feeling?
I haven't seen you in a
R-Truth comes out. R-Truth comes out with a Nexus shirt on, and he's like, "I want to join."
How about that yes movement, huh?
I would book him with Seth. That's what I would do. I mean, I would like to see everyone fight Gunther, so that's a bad answer for me. That'd like be my number one answer all the time because I want to see him fight everyone. But I would put him against Seth because that's like everyone. Like I get that Roman Reigns said something bad about him. I get that him and The Miz. I mean, you don't want to put him with The Miz, right? Like what's the point of that?
I saw that 10 years
I don't
ago.
like-
See it again.
I think it's the right move, and I think it's the good move. I mean, I don't know if it's possible Seth is like, I'm not like Seth could have told Hunter, like, I'm not fucking doing a goddamn thing with that guy. But I think Seth is pretty smart business wise. I think he knows that's where, like, that's going to promote him too. And I'm sure Seth, like, I think Seth might win if they fight at WrestleMania as well, which,
If Damian Priest
would-
hasn't
would
cashed
only be
in
good
his
for
Money in
him,
the Bank
so.
briefcase yet.
Well, plus they both
So
get a
who hasn't?
WrestleMania main event out of it.
If Damian Priest hasn't cashed in the briefcase yet on Seth, because I think that's the direction they're going to go. at
Yeah,
some point.
that's true. I don't know.
When does he have
That
to
would be,
cash
I don't
in?
know. Yeah.
I
has
think
a
he's
full
got to
calendar
WrestleMania.
year. Oh, it's a calendar year.
Oh,
But
okay.
isn't Money in the Bank usually the pay-per-view after WrestleMania?
No, it's usually in June. June or
Okay,
July.
so
You know what would be
he's got-
interesting, though, I think?
They moved it to
You know what would be
July
interesting
this
about a match
July.
with Seth?
Hmm.
I think that Seth, promo-wise, would probably try to antagonize Punk in real life. And, like, it might shut down his own match because if Punk does something stupid and then gets fired, like, it would be bad for Seth, too. So I don't know if it's a great idea to put them together, but I think it's what makes money. That's all I
Seth
have
is
to
going to
say.
bring up Colt
Like, I don't
Cabana
know if
and
Triple H
everything's
wants
going to
to-
go off the rails.
I don't
Yep.
like. Well, I can see Seth like bringing
Seth
out like
will look
one
him
of
in the face and say,
CM
"You're not
Punk's, like
elite."
UFC opponents and be like, "Hey, I'll just get this guy to protect me. He beat the shit out of you already." Like, I can see Seth doing anything to spite CM Punk. So maybe it wouldn't be the best idea for Hunter, but I don't know if it works out. That's the match that I think most people would want to see. So I don't know. That's my opinion. I would do Seth.
That's the only Mania match that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the one I want to see the most is Punk versus Roman, but it's too early there, simply for storyline purposes. Like Paul Heyman's the easy connection there. He was already brought up in the first promo. Yeah, I'd like to see that storyline, but it's way too early at Mania. So Seth kind of feels like the only option, unless Steve Austin becomes an option.
No, just no. Just no. That CM Punk
I wouldn't
cannot
be
pull off
against it,
that
but I
type of
don't see it
match.
happening.
I don't think Punk can do that type of match.
Yeah, he can.
The type of match you need to do with Austin is a match where you bump for 10 minutes and take all the greatest hits. That's not a CM Punk match. If CM Punk wrestled Steve Austin in 2023, it would look like the SummerSlam match with Michaels and Hogan, and that would be worse than not having the match at all.
No, it wouldn't. Punk would bump his ass off if he had to.
Okay, but that's not the main event.
No,
It would have to be.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm not talking in
Would
ring
you just
performance.
concede your point and then just make another one?
Even if you go that route,
You're
it's not the
He
main
wouldn't
event.
bump for him. Yes, he would. Okay, well, he would. But also, it wouldn't be a main event.
Well, I think that's more important to him than anything. It was important to him 10
Probably-
years ago. It's still going to be important to him now.
It's probably the number one thing on his list. I get that. And
Wait, Mania's
problem
2
is-
nights now? I can get a main event? Fuck yeah, I'm coming home.
Yeah, but you're working Triple H. That is a main event.
You know what? I'd love to hear that because then you could hear, you're working Steve Austin. That's a main event.
there is 2 main events now, so
Well, what's unfortunate
makes it
is,
a little
you know,
bit easier to give that.
Usually the women
It's
get
pretty
one
legit.
night, but
It's pretty legit that it is 2 main events too. Like they usually do it pretty, like, I don't feel like it's really that much more promoted to be the night 2 person. It is like usually the one that is expected, but I think Sorry.
Did the women? Randy made a point about the women usually get a main event. Did they get one last year?
no, they
Last
didn't.
year was the tag title match
Mhm.
and Roman Cody.
I don't even think it matters about how good the match is, and I don't think a Punk Austin match is going to be all that good, frankly, in terms of the way it plays out on screen. some promos leading up to it, as long as they don't do it the Kevin Owens way, would be wonderful. But the marketing behind it,
I don't.
like it would be WrestleMania 40s, WrestleMania 18. Although I suppose that wasn't the main event of that night either.
I don't know.
So I think
I can't imagine their promos being that good. What is CM Punk going to dig into about Austin?
He's an alcoholic.
Are we going to go the straight edge versus alcoholic route? Seriously,
the problem is with that. This is just me. Austin has lost a step in the promo game and obviously in the ring. He's been out of the ring for so long, but even in the promo game, he's
I thought your point was that he has lost a step physically. Like, yes, I'm fairly sure we all know that, but yeah.
No.
But yeah, he's definitely not.
His limitations in the ring, he was far more versatile as far as like the actual things he did with Kevin than I expected. I'll give him all that credit. He was much more of a wrestler than I expected him to be. I expected it to be 10 minutes of punches and stomping mud holes and then a stunner. But I mean, he's taking suplexes on the floor. I did not expect that. But his promo,
no, I mean he's lost an edge. I think he lost his edge. Like,
yeah,
he can't really put
he went to AEW.
Can't really put grit in there anymore.
He's not in game shape.
He's like musicians. He's like when musicians put out their like first album after 10 years, and you're like, you don't have nothing to be angsty about. You've been retired and swimming in solid fucking gold pools and whatever. Like there's nothing to be angry about anymore. Like,
he's a Rolling Stones.
I feel like Austin's like that now.
He's a Rolling Stones concert in the 2000s. You're going for the hits. You're not going for the energy.
I'm not saying I want Austin versus Punk. Frankly, I think I'd rather see Cena versus Punk again before Austin versus Punk. But
Mick Jagger probably needs Blue Chew anyways.
That never happened.
Cena versus Punk?
They said Cena Austin.
No, Cena. Well, I mean, I'm sure people would pay for that too. But
that's what I was like. Cena Austin never happened.
I would rather see him go up against someone on the main roster primarily, regardless of who it is.
The idea of CM Punk and John Cena in WrestleMania match makes the 20-year-old me so pissed off.
What, just because that's the balding spot on Cena's head the entire match too?
Yeah.
Is that the only pay-per-view they haven't wrestled at?
Possible.
Yes,
maybe.
Probably. There might be a few others.
Finish the story.
Can we bury that phrase, please? Can we bury that phrase? We're gonna hear it enough in the new year. I don't need to hear it
now. So yeah, CM Punk's back in WWE. We'll see.
Under on Gone Before SummerSlam. Anybody?
Oh God.
Before SummerSlam, yeah, I would. I think he's gone before SummerSlam.
Yeah,
I don't like. I wouldn't include that if it was just mischief, but if it's possible mischief, possible injury, yeah, I'll take that. I would take that bet for sure.
Now, Mischief retired already.
If it's like either or injury or fired or suspended or whatever,
I'd say still employed. It would be.
I'd say employed but injured. That feels likely.
I think there's no reason to bet.
The over-under injury is Royal Rumble.
So I'll take the over that he's still employed. It's just a question of, is he on thin ice or is he actually succeeding and everybody's happy? By then, who knows? He could be on thin ice and he doesn't make the Survivor Series. SummerSlam could be it. You never know.
Or maybe they give him his own show and it only runs for like 8 weeks.
Johnny's dying for that Fightful article that comes out. CM Punk involved in backstage altercation in WWE. He just wants it to be done and over with and get him out of there.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna read every CM Punk article that comes out for the next year. Like, I was like, I saw CM Punk on a street corner. It looked like his knuckles were kind of bruised. Did he punch someone? Like, I'm gonna read that.
I would love nothing more than to be a year and a half from now and being like, yeah, this run has actually been really good. I'm enjoying this so much more than I thought I would. And in reality, I'm much more likely to sit here and say that in a year, I'm going to be sitting here saying, I told you this was going to happen.
Well, I expect it to happen, so I'll be thankful if it doesn't, obviously. And I too would like to celebrate it being good, you know?
I think we all kind of expect it to end badly. We're hoping it doesn't, but we all know that there's a really good chance this is ending badly.
I think we're also going to see a much different CM Punk in the ring, because I think the motivations for this run are wrong. Like, I think he's being motivated by money and spite, and those are not the motivations that are going to make his matches as good as they were. Like, the AEW stuff, it was questionable, but he was motivated by passion, and you could see that passion in the matches. Even like a random TV match with Ricky Starks or Dax, you could still see the passion. I don't think we're going to see that passion this time around.
I feel like Kieran disagrees with you.
I disagree. So, excuse me. I don't disagree with the fact that he's probably back for the wrong reasons. I feel like you also have to add in there that he's back for glory, just for the sake of itself, not for being like he doesn't want to be like, oh, I got to finish my career off and be known as one of the best wrestlers. He's like, like, I want everyone to love me again. Like, I feel like it has nothing to do with wrestling. And so, yeah, that might be true that he might be there. But I also feel like there was almost zero passion in all of his AEW matches. So I
think
didn't.
That's just your I think that's your Hayden Christensen glasses coming out.
It might be. He's a terrible actor, though. I just like, I don't know. I like, it just seemed like all of his matches where he was like, oh, it wasn't even let's do the Bret Hart finish. He was like, let's do the entire Bret Owen match or whatever. Like, he had like several times he was like, why don't we just watch a match and we'll just do it in the ring? Like,
hey Dax, you want to go SummerSlam next week?
Yeah, it's just like, that, like, I don't understand that. I don't understand being able to be like, hey, why don't we just do a classic over again instead of thinking about anything ourselves? And of course, Dax loved it. And Bret Hart was like, oh man, he's the greatest fucking wrestler ever.
Well, of course he thinks that. I love Bret, but Bret loves Bret.
I thought that was hilarious for Bret to come out and be like, I think the best guy in the last 20 years is CM Punk because he only does stuff that I do, and he does it exactly the way I did it. And me and my brother Owen are the best wrestlers ever. So
I feel like there are
CM Punk really revolutionary.
I feel like there were a bunch of trolls on Twitter that are getting so unsung right now, because I guarantee there were probably hundreds of posts after the Miz Gunther match that like, oh, Miz used the SummerSlam spot. CM Punk confirmed. He used the turnbuckle suplex spot to go roll over into the pin that Bret used to beat.
Yeah.
They used it against Piper at WrestleMania. So he used the WrestleMania 8 spot. Punk confirmed.
Well, I mean, like, I posted something on DMD right away after he came back because I was like, all right, well, I was wrong, so I better post something right now saying, yes, I was wrong before someone shoves it down my throat. So I was totally wrong. I thought WWE was going to be like, this guy's a fucking mess. Why would we want him? So
I thought he was destined for
it's going to be interesting.
Sorry? I thought he was destined for a January TNA debut. Thought for sure that's where they were going to go with it.
I don't think he'd ever tuck his ego away and be like, I'm going to be on this.
I think that'd be perfect.
Super minor TV show.
I think that'd be the perfect place for him, for where he could have everything there. He'd be the unquestioned top guy, because nobody in TNA would come anywhere close to his name value. He would be in the upper tier as far as talent goes.
He'd probably have total control of his creative.
He would have a free hand in creative. Nobody's telling him, no, you can't do that. He'd have matches he could have. Because let's be honest. I mean, I'm sure Jared would get himself saucy at the idea of CM Punk versus Josh Alexander or CM Punk versus Mike Bailey. I mean, those matches get me excited. The idea of those matches make me excited. So I would have rathered him go to TNA back to WWE because at least there he's fresh.